What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. Let's talk about Windwalker Monk. This thing is really fun. Okay? I mean, I think any Windwalker Monk knows when you're playing it that this feels like the most fun thing to play in the game, man. The animations are good. The damage is actually good. We're going to get into a Mythic Plus dungeon that I did. The tier set looks really cool. It's a little cartoonish. I think this tier set has people like either hating it or loving it. I love it. I think it's really cool. I love this little like thing at the back that just constantly stays in position. It's just, anyway, it's good.
Yo guys, the gnome would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe on the video. All right, thanks, bye.
Let's look at Windwalker Monk on the patch notes really quickly. The latest patch notes that came out buffed the tier set bonus, which is really good. So Fist of Fury damage going up even more per stack of the tier bonus, which is great. And then Slicing Winds damage went up by 33%, which is really cool. That is a brand new talent down in the bottom right, which we will get to. This is like the whole build that I was trying, and I'll explain the build in a second because it was really fun. But that damage got buffed, which is really cool, okay? We're keeping an eye on Slicing Winds as our testing progresses to ensure that movement feels fluid and as non-disruptive as possible. We would like to hear continued feedback. So I think the movement side of it is still a little janky, but I'll show you in the dungeon. Zwen's Bond now reduces the cooldown of Invoke Zwen by a static 30 seconds. So no longer are you dependent on like landing combo strikes to slowly, incrementally reduce the cooldown of Zwen. You just get 30 seconds off Zwen. So I'm assuming if you played like perfectly, you could get more than 30 seconds off of Zwen before. I would love to hear from you guys who play Windwalker Monk more than me. Do you think this Zwen Bond change is good, or is it bad because if you were like min-maxing, you could do better? Last Emperor's Capacitor increases the damage of Crackling Jade Lightning by 400%, was 200%. That's a good change. I just still don't love this talent. I don't know. You have to sacrifice a lot of other stuff to go get this Last Emperor's Capacitor and Power of the Thunder King to do AoE damage if you want. So I don't think it's worth it in my opinion, but especially with the tier set bonus, focusing more around Fist of Fury, we kind of want every talent that buffs Fist of Fury, like Zwen's Battle Gear and Transfer the Power, and Zwen's Bond is a little different, but yeah, you get what I'm saying there. Power of the Thunder King now cleaves a little bit less because this got buffed, right? So it's a straight buff still, don't worry. There's really not that big of a deal. Conduit of the Celestials. This is a massive change, and again, it is the foundation of the build I'm going to show you today. Heart of the Jade Serpent now triggers each time you cast Strike of the Windlord, but its duration has been decreased to 6 seconds. So on live right now, this is the talent right here. It's like on live, if you spend 45 chi, then your next Strike of the Windlord will trigger Yu'lon, and Yu'lon will lower all the cooldowns of all of your abilities rapidly, like by 75%, right? The issue with this is that you had to almost manually track it or have a weak aura that tracked when your stacks were getting close to 45 so that you knew that you were in this really great cooldown reduction window. So it was hard to track, and especially for newer players or players like me, let's say, who don't play Windwalker every single day, it was really hard to remember that I was in the big cooldown reduction window. So now it's just every single time you press Strike of the Windlord, boom, you get Yu'lon, you get a ton of cooldown reduction on all of your major abilities, including Rising Sun Kick now. That was a new buff that they added in. It's a much better design, in my opinion. Much, much, much better. You don't have to track it as much. So this all ties in with the build that I want to show you, which is a Conduit of the Celestials build. Now, this is really cool because this talent tree has been buffed. They did buff, I believe, the Celestial Conduit damage a couple of patches ago in the PTR, and now they've buffed this Heart of the Jade Serpent, which really is the core of the entire build, in my opinion. It's getting cooldown reduction, and now they've added in Slicing Maelstrom, which gives you even it becomes part of the cooldown reduction package, which is so cool because this thing actually does a lot of damage, and I was really shocked by that, but it does. It was my third highest damage over the course of this dungeon, and that is partially to do with the fact that I'm getting cooldown reduction from the Yu'lon, and it just does a lot of AoE damage on its own, which is really cool. So let's just dive into the dungeon in 1 second here. I just want to highlight once again that this gets cooldown Like, you press Strike of the Windlord, it gives you Yulon. Yulon will cool down Strike of the Windlord, Slicing Winds, Whirling Dragon Punch, Rising Sun Kick, and Fists of Fury. It does all of those abilities, which is really amazing. It just makes the whole build really coalesce together. And because we're running Revolving Whirl, getting cooldown reduction on our Whirling Dragon Punch will give us another Dance of Chi-Ji. And I didn't understand how great this talent was, but it's really great, okay? Really, really, really great. So let's just dive in. We'll show you this. And we're doing a +4 Cinderbrew Meadery. So let me just say really quickly, there is dungeon scaling in effect. We are basically at 639 item level. Like, we're literally right where everybody is on the live patch in season 1 right now. We're basically right there. So yeah, we're not doing that. Like, we don't have an insane item level here. We're basically at 640 item level. That's where we're stuck at. Here's the opening burst. It's really incredible. I'm just going to show it again really quickly one more time because I just want to make sure we do that. I'm doing Storm, Earth, and Fire into Zuen, into an immediate whirling Slicing Winds. Sorry. So there's my Slicing Winds. There you go. And look at my damage already. Slicing Winds just did like 10 million damage, by the way. Then we press Strike of the Windlord, which then cools down everything. Watch the cooldown on everything here. Look at my Slicing Winds. 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. Like, that feels so good that every single time you press Strike of the Windlord, you're just, everything's just going way down. And I can get a second Slicing Winds in here if I want to, but everything's dead, so I save it for the next pack. That was pretty good. And you can see we had Fists of Fury doing the highest damage. This is going to be a consistent theme throughout the dungeon. The tier set bonus adds up to like 50% more damage to Fists of Fury. It's really strong. I would highly recommend taking all the talents that give you Fists of Fury cooldown reduction or damage, like Zwen's Battle Gear, I think is just kind of essential now because of that tier set bonus. There's my Slicing Winds again. You can basically start every fight with a little Slicing Winds, and it does a lot of damage, which is really cool. We were sustaining, like, I don't know, 2+ million damage on almost every AoE pack. We pulled this mini boss guy by himself, which I do not really agree with. I think you need to pull him with other mobs, but the reality is he's really dangerous, actually. Here's the next pack. Like, we were just really cranking out a lot of damage on the packs that had at least, you know, 8 to 10 mobs or something like that. We were really smoking it. Now there's 3 million right there. Look at that. So that's what I'm talking about. You just get really, really cool amounts of damage here. And Conduit of the Celestials is actually cranking out a lot of damage as well. And then the fact that it gives you the Dance of Chi-Ji proc for free now, I just didn't understand how good that talent was. The whirling or the whirl talent giving you free Dance of Chi-Ji procs just produces a ton of AoE damage, which is fantastic. It's actually not bad on single target either. It just does damage, which is great. So I would just say this build is interesting to me. I know that almost everybody runs Shadowpan right now. Like, on live, everybody is running Shadowpan. I think they've been running Shadowpan for a long, long time. Our tank DC'd for a little bit there. I do think there is an interesting Conduit of the Celestials build here that, because of the changes of Strike of the Windlord, that it now gives you the Yulon cooldown reduction. It makes a big, big difference for this entire hero tree. I think it makes this entire hero tree like work now. It really does. Just in my experience here, this build is fun. Cooling down all of your abilities and getting them back. I mean, that is what Windwalker Monk wants, right? Because you basically just need to be alternating a different ability every single time to maintain your mastery bonus, right? And the more cooldown reduction you have on your abilities, the more you're able to alternate them, and you're never going to run into a moment where you're in like a little drought. You know, there could be some moments with Windwalker Monk where you're in a tiny bit of a drought where it's like, oh my god, I've run out of energy, or I've run out of chi. I don't have any buttons to press right now because they're all on cooldown. But this really adds in some amazing buttons for cooldown reduction that, you know, that are all cooldown at the same time. For example, the Slicing Winds new edition, it doesn't have any energy or chi cost at all. It just does damage. And so if you cool it down and it does a lot of damage, then it's worth pressing whenever it comes off cooldown. Whirling Dragon Punch doesn't really cost anything, right? You just have to have Fist of Fury and Rising Sun Kick on cooldown in order to use it. That's really good as well. Yeah, I love the addition of abilities that don't really cost anything, but actually end up doing a lot of damage. Feline Stomp, to me, used to kind of be like that, but it doesn't really, I feel like Feline Stomp is kind of bad now. There is a build that has a passive Feline Stomp talent, and I haven't really tried it yet, but maybe there's something there. I'm not sure. I think that the tier set bonus for Windwalker Monk is strong. It does, unfortunately, pigeonhole you into some talents, I would say, because it's really centered around Fists of Fury. So the choice, the selection of talents in the bottom section of the tree, I don't think there really is any choice, to be honest. Like, I mean, everybody's always going to come up with some sort of a meta for sure. Wait, how much damage did Fist of Fury do there? But like, I just think to myself, I wish that I always had options to choose, and I feel like the tier set bonus focusing on Fists of Fury just really pigeonholes you. Look how many spinning crane kick procs we got right there. It's crazy.
I guess spinning crane kick. We got a bunch of procs.
Yeah, we got procs on procs on procs there.
We're doing stuff.
We're doing, you know, 2 to 3.5 million damage per pack. It's good. It's pretty good. I don't think I ever had a really big pack where I peaked at like 6 or 7 million like I have on some other specs here. But again, I'm definitely not playing this to perfection. So please take this all with a grain of salt. I am not a Windwalker main. I really enjoy this spec. I know how to play it at like a base level, but I am not an expert by any means. So you could probably do more damage if you were playing this and you were a Windwalker main. I bet you definitely could. So this room in here is interesting. This is very claustrophobic, these areas in here. You got to be really careful how much you pull and where you let these hobgoblin dudes charge. Here comes our slicing. Watch the damage from slicing here. So we're doing 3 million damage per second. We do Zwen into slicing. Watch this. I charge it up. Boom. We're up to 3.4 million. Like, and the fact that you can summon Zwen and then fit in like a slicing into like a Fist of Fury, that makes Zwen's crackling lightning thing that he does way stronger. His tiger lightning or whatever, because it does damage based on how much damage you did in the past 4 seconds. So you go Zwen slicing into Fist of Fury into a whirling dragon punch, like that combo in AoE, or if you get a Chi-Ji proc, it absolutely annihilates these mobs. I mean, it's really cool how much damage you can do when you kind of combine them all together. And again, my favorite thing in this game, my favorite thing for any DPS class in this game is getting cooldown reduction. I love cooling down your abilities by playing well, you know, just like having, if you're using your abilities at the right time, if you're playing correctly, you get massive cooldown reduction and then you get to cast your spells again. I just think that to me is the best version of any DPS. That might not necessarily be true, like objectively true. It's just something I love. So Windwalker Monk has that in spades now, which is really cool. Very exciting. And heck, it does a lot of damage. We'll do this boss fight here in a second. This is Ipa. I guess it's Ipa. I'm not really sure how to say it. I think it's Ipa. This entire fight revolves around you having to manage the ads, which is not a surprise because every fight in the world is kind of like that for Blizzard. Any fight that has ads is like, oh, you should really deal with these ads probably. So he's going to do this, and then he's going to summon a bunch of ads. You have to keep them away from the boss. Do not let them touch the boss, or he will get a gigantic shield, and you will hate your life. And I'm just DPSing them down. You want to try and kill the ads close together, because the puddles that when they die, they put a puddle down. They're going to respawn from those puddles that they died in. So I would highly recommend that you kill them close together. You can see them respawning right now, and they're fairly close together, but we could have done a better job at this. I'm back to ad duty here. This is going to be a really good fight for anybody with like burst cooldowns. So maybe like a Fury Warrior. I think Windwalker Monk can actually fall into that category. Maybe something like Survival Hunter with like a Fist of Fury, with a Fury of the Eagle, plus some Wildfire Bombs, like maybe a Mage with like Combustion. Anybody with like a pretty good cooldown can just turn and burn the ads and then get back to the boss. That's what you want to do on this fight over and over and over again. That's how this one works. Okay, good fight there. I'm gonna skip the B section. The B section's good, but the B boss is pretty standard. Like, he's a pretty easy boss fight in my opinion. I'll show you it really quickly, but I want to get to the end here. We get through the B section. There's a lot of trash in the B section. It's very congested, as I said earlier. Here comes the B boss fight. Basically, he's going to summon a bunch of bees, And then there's going to be a bunch of like honey barrels on the ground. You have to kill the bees, again, kill the ads, and then you hop onto one of the bees and treat it like a mount, and then you have to go and destroy the barrels. And you can fire their extra action button in a line, and it can kill multiple barrels at once. So that's what you want to do. If you ignore this mechanic, those barrels will continue to spawn more bees. He spawns 3 bees every time, but then you'll get like 5 bees, then 7, then 10, then 12. Like, you'll get completely overwhelmed by the number of bees. You will not be able to manage the fight unless you kill them. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of how this entire fight works. My suspicion is that the healer should be the one on this fight, because there's just no other damage going out. Otherwise, I know it's comical to say, oh, it's a healer mechanic, but it kind of is. I imagine when I do this dungeon on my healer, I'm going to be stuck doing the barrel duty, but I'm fine with that. I mean, I think it's fine. I just think that there's no other damage going on in this fight, really. It's pretty simple. So that is that boss fight. Okay, let's get to the final boss fight. You're going to get to this final section here. And first of all, these 4 ads that are here, these like yes men, you want to single target them. You want to kill them one at a time. As soon as one of them dies, the rest of them go back to full health. So watch, they all went to full health there, right? So you want to kill them one at a time. Single target damage, very, very important right here. Then we're going to get to the boss fight. This is Goldie Baronbottom.
Hopefully he actually knows what he's doing.
The BEO herself. This fight is all about managing the barrels that are on the ground. This is actually a very, very fun fight. It's also a chaotic fight, okay? So the tank is going to get that frontal. They're going to be able to take care of a lot of the barrels on their own. He actually missed the big barrel. You can see some of these barrels are sort of marked with like a red beam. Those barrels, when you destroy them, they put a dot on everybody. You can see we have a dot on us that looks like a cannonball. That is, if you do 2 of the big red barrels at a time, you'll get 2 stacks of the dot and you'll probably kill everybody. So you need to be very careful, I would say, about that. You need to be very, very careful that you don't get 2 at a time. And then you have to be very careful where you're walking, because the barrels are going to explode and they're going to create these waves. And then at the end, if you, whatever barrels you have not cleaned up, she will clean up herself. When she gets to this moment where she says, let it hail, she shoots her gun around and does a bunch of AoE damage, and she'll explode any unexploded barrels. So if you forgot to blow up a bunch of barrels, then you're in big, big trouble. This fight is very chaotic. There are waves everywhere. For melee, it is insane, but it's a lot of fun, in my opinion. I think it's very fun. Here comes the AoE damage. You have to have like a defensive ready to go for every one of these AoE moments here, I would say, because it does a lot of damage. And then of course there's going to be barrels exploding somewhere else. That's that fight right there. Everybody I think dies. We have to run it again. Here's my overall damage. Yeah, I think I did. Where were we at there? Let me just check really quick. We were at 1.7 mil overall. So here's the overall damage for the dungeon. Fist of Fury is the highest, once again, because of the tier set bonus. Spinning Crane Kick, because I'm getting all those procs from pressing Whirling Dragon Punch, right? And then it gives me a Chi-Ji proc. I'm getting so many of those, and that translates into spinning crane kick damage, which is really, really good as well. Slicing Winds, that's the new cooldown I tried. I'm telling you guys, it just does a lot of damage. It actually hits really freaking hard, and I think it's a fantastic addition to Windwalker Monk. I would highly encourage you guys to try it out. Again, the movement is a little bit janky because you have to like power it up and then launch yourself. It's a little bit weird. Then we have our spirits. There's Celestial Conduit, Whirling Dragon Punch, Strike of the Wind Lord. I think it's good. I mean, bottom line, it's as fun to play as it's ever been. I think the new addition to these talents is fun. I think the fact that they changed Heart of the Jade Serpent to trigger from Strike of the Wind Lord creates this cooldown reduction build with Conduit of the Celestials that I love. I really enjoy it. And I don't know if it's like way better than Shadowpan. I suspect it's either the same damage as Shadowpan or maybe slightly better, but it's not like going to blow Shadowpan out of the water. but it's really fun. It's fun, it's different, it's new, and cooldown reduction is my favorite thing in this game. So I really enjoyed it a lot. Slicing Winds did a lot of damage. Revolving Whirl is a massive talent that you should definitely take. And then all the Fists of Fury bonuses down here are also really strong as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, especially you guys who play Windwalker Monk like full time. We'd love to hear from you down there. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Love y'all. I'll see you in the next one.